Hey everybody, this is Larry. This is day 30th of the Leetcode Daily Challenge. If it's not, then, it's another day. But it's the daily Leetcode Challenge. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, join me on Discord. Let me know what you think about today's forum, today's video, everything in between. I just finished running 10 miles. I'm about 28 days away from the marathon. So I'm just kind of walking home now. Well, right now I'm not walking home, but I'm walking to cool down and then walking home. So yeah, let's get to the problem. Let's go. Hey everybody, this is Larry. This is I already have the intro, right? So yay, 4 weeks to the marathon. I just want to kind of talk a little bit, but very quickly and shortly about the thing about the marathon is that it's a month away, 28 days away. And the 2 or 3 weeks of that is what people call tapering, meaning that you've basically done all you can do, right? Like your body's not gonna. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks for your body to kind of you work it out, and then it repairs itself to be stronger, right? So everything is pretty much almost done, right? And that's what they say about a marathon, is that in that way, the race itself is just a celebration, right? And what I mean by that is that it doesn't really matter what you do on the race, because it is just an expression of all the time that you already invested in, right? And the reason why I bring that up is because I think about it the same way about ratings and Leetcode and competitive programming and code forces in general, right? Not to say that, I know that I kind of try to emphasize that people should care less about ratings, because I think, it's just an arbitrary thing. But even if you do care about rating, think about it not as just one single point in time, but about the average over time, right? And the average over time will go up and down, but it's like in the same way, it's about your fitness, it's about how good you are or how much work you put in, and how much work you put in not just now or recently, but over the years, right? And all that sums up to your rating. And sometimes there is going to be some, variance and fluctuations. But if you're good and you're good, or you're confident about it, then one rating point doesn't matter, right? Like if you, like for me, maybe as an example, at least on Leetcode rating, I'm probably like around 2900 ish, right? Whatever it is. Maybe recently it hasn't seemed that way because I'm so tired, but that's my excuse anyway. So like one contest where I do poorly and it drops a lot, it doesn't really matter, right? Like I get annoyed a little bit, of course, as you should take pride in how you do, but you can't really control that every time, right? Because that's just how it goes, right? Some days you're gonna have good days, some days you're gonna have bad days, and if you do enough of these things, if you do enough contests, then it'll go back up anyway, right? It all averages out, and that's kind of the point as well, right? Is that all there are a lot of, that's the thing with the marathon, is that it is one race in, at least for me anyway, in the year, and what can I control, right? Well, I can control how much I train. This week is a back off week. I train about 51 miles. Next week is my peak week. I'm going to train about 60 miles. So that is something that I can control, right? Obviously. I can control to some degree, maybe I should be controlling a little bit better, my recovery, right? How much time I spend sleeping, the foods that I eat, how I spend my time, am I like doing silly things in between, how am I resting, and all these things, right? So all these things are within my control, within to some degree, and at least for me for right now, right? Because not everyone gets to say that, to also honestly, right? Like if I have kids, then if I have a baby, then maybe I don't control my sleep that much, right? For example. Same thing with Leetcode. You have to do, figure out what you can control and figure out how much you want to put in, right? And then when it comes to on race day, it really doesn't, when you think about it, there's just a lot of things that are not in my control, right? All the things that we talked about, they're in my control, but like the weather, if it's really, really hot, or if it rains, or if it's snowing maybe even, right? I don't know. Then I'm probably not going to run my 100% best race, right? For example, or if, maybe I I mean, even last week where I tripped and I kind of pulled my, not pulled, but twisted my ankle a little bit, right? These things happen. And, you know, like, for example, even on Leetcode contests or competitive, like I have a time where my internet just shut down in the middle of it, right? And it obviously shows up on my rating, but does that really reflect who I am and all the training that I've done, right? Probably not, right? So like, it is what it is. It just happens. And some days, you know, like you just don't, you know, and of course, like we have so many Leetcode contests and so many Code Force contests that one contest doesn't matter enough, right? Like, unlike a marathon, you're not going to spend 1 week of good sleep for one contest. I certainly don't. I just do them whenever they come. So they kind of, so, you know, so you probably don't take them as seriously. But however, for example, if you have an on-site, like, I know Google Code Jam is not a thing anymore, but like, what's the Meta one? Meta Cup something? Meta something Cup? Yeah, like, if you really care for it, and if it, you know, then maybe you spend like 2-3 days just focus on sleep and eating, and you know, because you're not gonna get that much better at programming in 2 days, right? You're already trained over the months, but you know, so that when you're at 100% mental state, or as much as it can, maybe not 100. So same thing with all these things, right? And you know, and maybe it's just not your day anyway, right? On Leetcode, sometimes it means that, like, you know, there's just some obscure random algorithm that you need to know, and you just don't. It happens. It happens to me all the time, really. Maybe more than I would like, but it happens all the time, right? And then on other days, if you're prepared and you get a little bit lucky, right? Like maybe I'm just really good at dynamic programming in a certain dynamic programming, and that was the problem, right? So, you know, and then it's just all about this fitness, and it's all about these things over time. So yeah, you don't control what happens. You don't control everything that can happen. But you can definitely control how to show up, and to show up every time. And you know, some days you're good, some days you're bad, but you know, it's about how much effort you put in, right? And that is also why I talk about goals, right? It's easier to put in what you need when you know what your goals are, and you think anyway, you know how to get to accomplish those goals. All right. It is a very long intro, but you know, like I said, 28 days, exactly 4 weeks for my marathon, so that's just been on top of mind. But yeah, all right, let's take a look at today's problem. 1381, design a stack with increment operation. Yesterday's problem was kind of annoying, so I hope you enjoyed it. I think the video was like an hour and a half, even though I really want to sleep. Today I also really want to sleep. I actually ran 10 miles or so, but not like moderately hard. So I don't know, I'm just tired a lot because I'm running a lot, and which is kind of bad because, like I said, next week is 61 miles, starting with 7 miles tomorrow. So let's get to today's problem then, so I can rest as early as I can. All right, design a stack that supports increment operations on its elements. Okay, you have a stack, you have a custom stack, really. Max size, okay, maximum of elements, push X on the top of the stack. If it's not, which max size, pop. Okay, we could pop. Increment integer k, integer value. Right, increment the bottom k elements by value. If there are less than k elements in the stack, increment all the elements in the stack. Okay, so I mean, I assume that we you know, I mean, if we can do this in quote unquote linear time, this would just be silly. So probably you cannot, but let's take a look at. I guess I think technically you can, because there are almost 1,000 cores, and if you have 1,000 cores, you know, this is gonna. I guess you technically can, but you probably shouldn't anyway. But the way that, and anyway, it's not so bad to think about the more slightly complex way. But the way to think about it is that take advantage of the fact that I am stalling because I'm trying to get my drawing thing up. I think people, let me know in the comments if you like my drawings, because sometimes I'm trying to do more drawings lately, but I don't know if it's really worth it. So let me know in the comments whether you think it's worth it, and you know. But yeah, so basically here we have a stack, right? Wait, let me make sure that's on the screen. Yep. You have a stack, you have some numbers, right? And then here, maybe you have an operation that is increment k, which is the bottom k. So the way that I would think about it, maybe I drew the numbers too big because whatever, right? The way that I think about it is that, okay, so basically you have you know, a number of operations. Let's say you have add these, and then maybe you add these, and as you pop, you know, these goes down. But the way that I would like to kind of think about this, right, is that now the increment thing is a segment, right? And here, and the way that you have segments, well, not all the time, but whenever I think about segments, I think about events, right? And here, the good thing, and I don't, I want to say that you can even maybe, I don't know if it's true off my head, but I just want to say maybe you could even increment like this, but there is more nuance here just because you can push and pop stuff. I think it's not that bad though. I think you could do it if you're really careful. But anyway, that's not the problem anyway, but which makes this even easier because then now there are only two things. Let's say you have a segment and there's only two things, right? One is insert. If you insert, nothing changes yet. Or nothing ever changes really, just like life and politics. That's another story, but you should still vote. Anyway, that's too cynical for me, but it was just a joke, my bad. But in any case, now when you pop though, right, what happens with the segment? Well, the segment just shrinks, right? And then now when you add in a new number, let's say 7, the segment remains the same, but you can also kind of like look at this as like almost a prefix thing, right? As a event thing. So as a result of that, it allows you to amortize almost kind of like a prefix sum on the stack, but because you only eliminate numbers from one direction, it only shrinks it to the in that way. So you don't have to so then you don't have to like you don't have to keep track of what happens after, like this segment, you don't have to keep track of what happens afterwards as long as this number doesn't get popped. And if this number gets popped, you just shrink it and then you keep going. And then here, you may even have two things, right? And that's really the visualization and the idea. It's not too bad. It is kind of similar to yesterday's in the way that I think once you know, there are a couple of core concepts, of course. One is just stack. I mean, but I don't even think that's that hard because it's not even the general using stack in a weird way. This is just literally visualizing a stack, which I think most people should at least be able to do as a first thing to analyze, right? And from that, everything is just similar to yesterday in the sense that it is just bookkeeping, right? You're just keeping track of all these random segments that you get from this increment function. And that's really the core idea for this. Okay, so let's say we have self.stack is equal to right? And then maybe we have like a self.increment is also equal to this, right? And here we want to take advantage of implicit things, right? Because basically, maybe one thing that I didn't make clear is that with this segment, actually maybe I am really bad at it. Because to make it O of 1, I think I didn't go over it enough, so that's why I'm bringing it back up. To make it O of 1, keeping in mind that we don't need to, when we get a new segment here, we don't need to go in and increment it because we're not up to the number yet. It is only when we pop a number, we go, okay, well, how many segments are we in? Or how many of these previous increment segments were we in? And then we can be like, okay, well, this is a 5. We have one increment segment. This is now a 6. So in that way, you don't have to do a for loop every time. And that's really what we're trying to do. And another way to think about it, though, is that, okay, let's say we add this segment. So then now this is a +1 here, +1 here, +1 here. If you want to think about it in terms of prefix sum and difference array, then now instead of, and you know that you're always going to go in this direction, kind of, only because you ignore everything in before, on the other direction, then now you can actually just say, okay, well, instead of incrementing +1 3 times or whatever the k is, you can actually just put +1 here, and then whenever you go through this, everything to the down stack of it is +1, so then that's only one operation ish, right? Or O of 1 operation anyway, maybe not exactly 1. But yeah, that's the general idea. I think I didn't emphasize it enough before I kind of go to it, so I want to add that in a little bit. Also, let me know. This is a little bit late in the video for but let me know in the comments how my volume is coming through. I think the last couple of days my volume has been a little bit low. I've been adjusting it, but if it's too low, too high, too loud, let me know. Let me know. Right? Okay, so let's take a look. I think I forgot to do Duolingo today. That's why I was like, anyway, unrelated. All right, so push, we can do this self.stack append x, right? And then maybe self.increment append. We put a 0 here because we don't really need, because if you think about it in the prefix some kind of way, as we showed, then the 0 is the delta, right? And then pop, we can say maybe x is equal to self.stack.pop, and then x we increment it by the self. I wanted to write this, but I don't think that's quite right. I mean, it is quite right for x, but you also want to take this prefix sum. If you think about prefix sum, you want to push it down as well, right? So then now, what we want is that maybe I could write like delta is equal to this, right? So x plus equal to delta. But then now we also want a self that the biggest number, we want to add it by delta, right? So that that's basically the because that delta is what you also added to the thing below, right? Yeah. But of course, this only works if we have one element, so we write, length of self.increment is greater than 0. Otherwise, you just get an error, which is fine, but I mean, probably less fine, but you'll find out about it is what I mean. Okay, so then here, then self.increment of k we added by value, and that's really it. Maybe it's k minus 1 though, because okay, if k is 0, then yeah, so this is k minus 1. That's really the idea for this one. Does pop? Oh, -1 if the stack is empty, so we have to check for that. Yeah, I mean that is just what it is. What it is, right? I mean there's really no way around it. And yeah. Oh, can k be bigger than? Oh, okay. So we have to check that as well. So I'm just a little bit sloppy with the reading, but yeah. If k minus 1 is greater than equal to length of self.inc, then we just take the biggest, the number on top and add it by value, right? Else, technically, this still needs to be, yeah, if this is 0, then we ignore it. I think there is a thing about like maybe having a sentinel value here, but then you have to handle it in some other way. So it's a little, it's a little bit awkward. If length of self.inc is greater than 0, let's put it that way. Otherwise, you just do nothing, I think. So let's give us a quick spin. The quick spin is wrong. All right, let's take a look. I mean, maybe there are a lot of ways it can be wrong. Maybe off by 1 is my initial guess. But yeah, let's see. Oh, I forgot to do max size. I just ignore max size. So we have to kind of I just forgot about it, honestly. So, I mean, there's definitely some stuff relating to that. Okay. So, yeah, okay. So, if length of self.stack is greater than, or actually, I guess technically it's equal to, but I like writing it like this anyway. Then we return, right? We don't do anything. Is that it? Yep. Okay. Well, I mean, that was actually not that bad. I just didn't realize. Is it right? Let me double think for a sec. Yeah, I mean, there are possible mistakes, but I'm a little bit lazy today, a little bit tired today. So let's go. And yeah, it looks pretty okay. I got the September batch. Remember, consistency is key. See you next month, which is tomorrow. So yeah. And I have a 1644-day streak, which is actually ridiculous to say out loud. But yeah. What's the complexity here, right? Everything should be all of 1. This is all of 1. This is all of 1. This is 2 append operations. This is 2 pop and maybe an add a couple of ads, if you want to call it that. This is an ad on the space, and yeah, and the space is going to be just O of 1 per item. You know, we don't use that much extra space, or O of n in total or whatever. But you have to define n a little bit more precisely. But yeah, that's all I have for this one. That's all I have for today. I'm gonna go rest, focus on my recovery. Oh, I slept the wrong way. Thanks for watching. Stay good, stay healthy to good mental health. I'll see y'all later and take care. Bye bye.